Some viewers might recognize this as a featherweight, and certainly is a featherweight, but it's a featherweight of sorts. It's a very special featherweight, but I wouldn't get too excited, and you'll see why. Now let's have a look here. And if we have a look here, we can see we've got a Centenary model here, but can anyone see the issue here? I'm not sure if it'll come through on the camera just yet, but is that a needle? It is a saw blade. Yep, someone's converted this to a saw. So yeah, someone's decided, you know, in their infinite wisdom, to convert this beautiful Centenary model 221K featherweight to a saw. Now, yeah, I think it's a thing. Yeah, I suspect it was a thing, you know, back before these machines were highly collectible. And yeah, why, I mean, in hindsight, you know, I guess the machines may not have been worth a lot back then. I know that even just a few years ago here in New Zealand, bearing in mind that our dollar buys about, I don't know, 70 cents US, these were selling for about $150, say 100 US, somewhere around there. Now they're selling for about 600 New Zealand. So that's about, yeah, about 420 US dollars in reasonable condition. So yeah, you know, I'm not sure when this would have been done. It could have been done decades ago, I suppose, when there was a lot of these around. I have no idea. But in hindsight, you know, probably not such a good choice of machine to do it with. I mean, you know, maybe something that was maybe not so collectible would have been a good choice. But anyway, it's done. You can see. Oh, sorry about the pain. I know it's painful to see. This is painful. This is what they've done. They've removed a lot here. The whole hook is gone. I'm just turning the machine there to show you the saw blade doing its thing there. Oh, have a wee look at what's missing. I know this is pretty hard to watch, but I'm going to have a go at restoring this machine back to a usable state. Now, if you're familiar with these machines, you'll see that there's a lot missing under here. Yeah, so let's compare this here to the parts donor machine. The reason I can even consider doing this job is that I have a donor machine, this one here. Now, I picked this machine up from the local hospice shop in the area, and you know, the hospice shops are what we call an op shop or a thrift shop. If you're in the USA, they're called thrift shops. I received this machine in lieu of some of the time that I donated looking at their machines and making sure that they were good enough to put on the floor for sale. And Cheryl, who works there, she's also a contributor to the channel in that she provides molly food here. So thanks very much, Cheryl and Harry, for this lovely donation. Molly will really enjoy this, I'm sure. And if I get a chance, I'll snip in a little video clip of her enjoying this. I suspect that this might run into a series of videos because of the potential length to get all this content in here. So anyway, if we have a look here, we can see what's missing. So we've got a main shaft here driving the hook down in here, and we've got two bars here driving the feed mechanism. This is actually probably a little bit worse than I suspected because we've got these crank levers coming down here, and that makes sense really. You know, if you're going to convert this lovely featherweight to a saw, a jigsaw, you really would want to remove these linkages here so they don't sort of rattle around in here. So, you know, luckily we've got the vertical shaft intact here. The electrics are intact there, although when I plugged the foot controller in, it instantly blew a fuse. It blew the main breaker fuse for the house. Yeah, either there's a problem with this foot controller and cabling, or there's an issue over here with the cabling here. This machine's been hacked around with as well. I mean, you can see there that it's quite corroded. It's probably been sitting at a damp place there. The motor was dead. In fact, that was an American motor. That's the 110 volt motor. It's dead. It's got a non-original plug here. Yeah, it's pretty ratty, but you know, probably quite good for mechanical parts. You can see there, we've got the hook there. Someone spray painted this. You can see the overspray on the hook. So that's going to need some cleaning up. Now if we get back to the highly collectible table saw, we'll also see that we've got some parts missing here as well. So spot the difference. Foot bar's missing. Foot lifter, that lever, yeah, we've got the lever there. Tension release mechanisms there, the tension is there, that's good. Yeah, so foot bar, that's no huge deal. Yeah, see this needle bar's been messed around with as well. It's got a, oh yeah, that's the standard. I think it's just been turned 90 degrees and the blade installed there. Let's have a wee look through the top here. Yeah, so the cam followers, 2 cam followers there are missing. Hopefully that's not going to be too difficult to replace. This is the parts donor. So one of the cranks here that just slips off the bearing there. The other one's just two screws and take the bearing cap off there. So I think I have everything that I need to resurrect this machine. I'm just hoping that the motor's okay on this one. This is a 230 to 250 volt. Yeah, so hopefully that fuse blowing issue is not something related to the motor there. I doubt it, but at least I just want to you know, confirm that this motor's usable. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in my good known foot controller. I plugged in a good known foot controller and it didn't blow any fuses, but the machine ran constantly without pushing the foot controller pedal down. So it looks like it could just be the capacitor set here that's shorting. It's quite a common problem. Just quickly remove this here because it's just getting in the way a little bit. Just these 2 screws here. Take this mounting screw here. That holds in the whole plug assembly there. That should come out there and give us access to the terminals. I'll remove this little clamp here as well, just to give us a little bit more slack in the system there. A little cable clamp there. I guess we'll just remove this entire capacitor assembly here. I also want to check that there's no insulation that's broken down and causing a short circuit here. I might as well do that while I'm in here. That should allow us to, that one, yeah, that's the red. Just remove one at a time here. Take that red one, that's one of the capacitor connections. And then this yellow one here, nicely color coded there. Just a little washer there. Now I think it goes without saying that you want to do this with the machine unplugged from the power supply, the wall socket. It's fairly obvious. Okay, and that's the black from the capacitor there, and we've got a green earth, is that an earth wire? Yeah, that down, does it? Oh, it goes back to the motor here. That earth wire comes back to here. Yeah, I think the easiest thing to do here in the meantime is just to clip that earth wire off there. I'll be removing this here anyway. I think, yeah, pretty sure this is shorting. So I'll just clip that there in the meantime. Let's have a look. Yeah, might just independently check these wires here. I won't go through that in this video. So this video is really just going to cover the mechanical side of it, like, so, you know, installing all the shafts and doing the timing and getting the machine all back up and running here. I tested the insulation with this Mega here. What that does is it forces a high voltage through the wiring just to test the insulation, just to make sure that it's not shorting, you know, either between strands here or out to the ground here, or, you know, out to the chassis. I did notice that there was a screw, this is a light switch up under here, and one of the terminal screws was loose there. I removed the light switch and tightened that up. I've also noticed a little bit of a crack just here on the plug socket there. I'll get some epoxy glue onto that, and hopefully that'll save that from breaking down. Now the next thing I want to do is just check the motor brushes before we go too far. Fairly simple on these machines. Just undo the cap screw there, and yeah, I can see there's plenty of life left in those. Plenty of length there. So we'll put that back in the same way it came out. That, and then screw the cap back on there. That doesn't need to be overly tight, just nip that up. That. I'll go and plug it in just to make sure. I don't want to do it in here because it blows the circuit breaker in the house, and yeah, it's a bit of a nuisance. Okay, the electrics and the motor seems to check out. I'm out in the garage here at the moment, so excuse the background noise, but I know that you really want to see how it goes as a jigsaw. So I couldn't find any wood thin enough, but I've got this little piece of plastic here off a CD here. Let's see how it actually performs, eh? No, it's a fail. Broke the blade. Oh well, maybe I should have used wood, but anyway, I'll call it a fail. It's a sewing machine, come on. Okay, I've got the original foot controller plugged in here. Now the power's not on at the wall, so we don't have any power there at the moment, but you'll see what the problem is when I do turn the power on. The machine runs, and I just blew the fuse. That's the fuse gone again. Be right back. Rightio. Oh well, computer needed a reboot anyway. Let's unplug the unit from the power there, and I'll show you what's going on in here. These can be a little bit stubborn to get out. They stick around the edges of these pads, so a good push on the pedal here can help free that up, and then that should just pop out. It's more than likely it'll be shorting down here, or it could be shorting at the plug end here. So yeah, I won't cover that in this video. Yeah, I'll substitute it with another foot controller just in the meantime, but I mean, I'm nowhere near sort of needing to use the foot controller at this stage. I've got to get all the mechanicals sorted here. If we just get back to the machine here for a minute, You'll also see that, you know, there's been a little bit of grinding and bits and pieces going on here. Hopefully that won't affect the outcome. This bearing is there. I think there's supposed to be a bearing in here. Hopefully, you know, there's not too much damage done, you know, by having all this stuff removed. Also notice a couple of wee grind marks here as well. Yeah, I think there is supposed to be a bearing there. Let's have a look at the other one. Yeah, little bearing down here. What have they ground away there? I think they've ground a little bit away, but I don't think it's going to have an effect. I'm hoping not. And they've attached this little guide here to the bottom of the throat plate by the look of that. That's no problem. I've got another throat plate here. Yeah, so I think we've got everything that we need to go on, you know, to resurrect this machine. That's it for this one. So yeah, keep an eye out for the next video where I'll go through, you know, starting to transfer the mechanical bits over to this machine here to resurrect it back to a sewing machine and no longer a jigsaw. Thanks again to Cheryl and Harry for your kind donation of cat food. Molly will appreciate that, I'm sure. Stick around until the end of this episode and you'll get to see her devouring this. Thanks to all my patrons on Patreon. Please consider supporting the channel by heading over to patreon.com/sewing machines. And thank you for watching. Here you go. Say thank you to Cheryl and Harry. Yep, that's a hit. Big thumbs up from Molly.